This is a video for the Parent Teacher YouTube channel, and this video is Teach Your Child to Read, Where to Begin, Part 2. So this is the second video in a series about what you can do for early learners from birth to age 6. Part 1 suggested ways to support children from birth to 2 years old, and it focused on setting the stage for reading success. This is part 2, and it will focus on activities that can help build phonemic awareness skills and basic phonics skills. These activities are geared towards children ages 3 to 6, but they can be used with younger or older children depending on their needs and abilities. Before we begin, we should probably discuss what phonics and phonemic awareness are. So phonemic awareness essentially is an ability to hear and distinguish sounds or phonemes in words, as well as the ability to manipulate them, to change them. It's done through listening activities. That's the focus of it, is listening. Phonics is the knowledge of letters and letter patterns or graphemes and how those can represent sounds or phonemes in written words. So it's basically how we can sound out words when we're reading or when we're writing or spelling. Some educators may be of a mind that phonemic awareness should be taught first before phonics instruction. But in my own personal experience as a teacher and as a parent, I have not seen a problem with working on both skills at the same time. In fact, I find that they support each other very well when children are ready to work on both in tandem. So for this video, I will actually begin with a basic understanding of what I call basic phonics, and we'll talk a little how phonics instruction can help provide an aid to students who may struggle with phonemic awareness. And I will go over some of my favorite ways to build phonemic awareness skills. So as I mentioned, phonics is the knowledge of letters and letter patterns and how they can represent sounds. So what that means for us is that each letter in our alphabet can make a sound or multiple sounds. And when I begin with children, we stick to one sound per letter. And I also usually start with short vowel sounds. We're going to talk about those. But just remember, every child is different. Everyone's needs are different. So our letters of our alphabet are broken up into consonants and vowels. Hopefully you remembered that, but you might have forgotten from school. Our consonants generally represent one common sound, and some represent more than one sound, often paired with another letter. The most common sounds represented by the consonants in the initial position are B, K, D, F, G, H, J, K, which is the same sound as C, U, which is similar to the sound for M, and it's very hard to hear in isolation sometimes. P, K, or Qu. In English, we're usually taught to represent the Qu sound when paired with U. R, S, T, W, V, Y, Z. Okay, so those are our consonants. And our vowels have what we call a long and a short sound. So I'm going to show you the short sounds. A, E, A. Long sounds are when the letter says its name. That's how we explain that. So when A makes the A sound in a word. And usually those are paired with other letters to represent that. So that's why I usually save those till later. But some early reading curriculums do teach long sounds or mix. Long E, for example, can be useful to teach because B, me, we, he, she, and C, all of those basic, very frequent words do have the long E sound. But in general, these are the basic phonics that I begin teaching in conjunction with phonemic awareness. And then I just encourage readers to explore new and interesting words that they discover, and that helps them discover new phonics patterns to them, see if they can find a pattern. Those are what I call advanced spelling patterns. So they can discover that as they progress with reading. And if they don't discover them on their own, eventually we will introduce those. But these are just the basics. Okay, I'm going to play this little clip for you. We're going to talk about some ways now to help children develop phonemic awareness. And I've got 2 tricks for you. So these are tricks that will help students who learn better visually and students who learn better by being active. They're more kinesthetic learners, hands-on. Students that are auditory learners who can just learn by listening don't usually have as much trouble with phonemic awareness. But either way, these are both good activities that can help all students, I believe. So I'm going to start with the active way. It involves holding up your arm, and I think it's great because it can get kids involved, and it's got a physical component to it. So it's very simple. You can use this for a variety of phonemic awareness activities, but you're using your arm to visually represent the beginning, the middle, and the ending sound. So my shoulder is the beginning or first sound, my elbow area is the middle sound, and my wrist is the ending sound or the last sound. The other activity or the other trick that I'll show you is simple. You may use a whiteboard or a piece of paper, and you just need 3 different colored lines. I prefer to have them different colors, but again, it represents the first sound, the middle sound, and the last sound. And also, if you're using whiteboards or paper, you can use boxes to represent the sounds if that helps, or even different shapes instead of colors. Perhaps you have a child that has some color blindness. Shapes could be used in place of colors. And as your child progresses, he or she can even fill in those lines with letters that represent those sounds. So if you have an older child who's writing letters and has developed some basic phonics, they could write the letters in. Or if you have a younger child and you have letter tiles or even letters written on little pieces of paper, they can build words with those as well. Now, before I share my list of phonemic awareness skills, I want you to know that these are not all the skills out there that could be taught. These are just ones that I find the most benefit in. And you don't have to stay in this order, but in my experience, the order I've used is fairly close to what I've observed as the order that many students master these skills in. And I also think this is the order that best fits if you're trying to develop phonemic awareness and phonics together. But every child's an individual, so keep that in mind. So the first one I put on my list is isolating the first, last, and middle sounds in a word. And I actually like it in that order. I started by teaching my children to isolate or identify the first sound in a word, the beginning sound. And then we moved to the last sound and then to the middle sound. That's the order I went in. But it also made it fun. My kids liked to play games when we were out running errands. If we're at the store, I might ask, what sound does apple start with? Ah. Or as they began to be able to use some phonics, I might say, well, what letter makes that sound? Oh, A. Well, then we could even look on my shopping list. Which one of these words do you think is apple? Apple. Oh, it starts with A. It's got to start with A. So those kinds of activities. We also like to play I Spy. So I would say, I spy something green that begins with ooh, and they would have to find, leaf. They'd have to guess leaf. So lots of fun you can have with that. Let me go ahead and play this video so you can see exactly what isolating those sounds looks like. For isolating beginning, middle, and ending sounds, our arm can be very helpful. So we can ask our child, tell me the beginning sound in cat. And we can stretch that word out on there to show them that where we're looking for that sound. Tell me the ending sound in dog, dog. And they'll hopefully be able to do that. Tell me the middle sound in hop, hop. We may have to stretch those out a little for them to get those medial vowels. That's okay. Same thing if you're using a visual like a whiteboard or a piece of paper with colored lines. Tell me the beginning sound in cat, cat. Tell me the ending sound in dog. Tell me the middle sound in hop. So those are just some ways you can represent that. And I just realized I forgot to have to show you what the child would be saying. So if you ask them, tell me the beginning sound in cat, they would need to respond k. So just in case you missed that. Segmenting words or breaking them apart, breaking the sounds apart, is very useful for kids who are trying to write and need to spell an unknown word. So it's a great skill to develop. For segmenting words and counting phonemes or sounds in a word, you can use the same tools again. So what you've done with using your arm, tell me all of the sounds that you hear in cat, cat, cat. You can do the same with the whiteboard. Tell me the sounds you hear in cat, cat, cat. This is great for syllable counting as well. So you can give, or not syllable counting, for phoneme counting. You can use lines like this. So you could say, how many sounds are in cat? Cat, 3. You can try one like if. Or sometimes I use it this way, start in the middle because of the vowels there. If, just 2. You can also, for phoneme counting or sound counting, you can use like little coins or things, little rocks, something physical as well can be helpful. So let me explain a little more of how this can help your children as they begin to spell or write. So if you've got a child that's got some phonics and they want to write a word, or they want to arrange some letter tiles to build a word, this is great. So you can, for example, if you want to work on the word cat, if they wanted to spell cat, you could have them break that apart in the sounds on your arm. At, oh, there's 3 sounds I saw, beginning, middle, and end. And I would even have some way of maybe writing 3 lines. Maybe they could write 3 lines on their paper, or some way of knowing that there's going to be 3 sounds, and then tell them each sound, for each sound we're going to write a letter, or each sound is represented by 1 letter, and then they can identify which letter would represent the k, which letter would represent a, which letter would represent t. So it can just provide a bridge for that. Okay, blending sounds, putting those sounds together to form a word, is really helpful for kids who will be using phonics to read. It helps their ear and brain prepare for that decoding, for that sounding out. So let me go ahead and play this one. Blending sounds together can also be done with these tools. So you can tell them the sounds p, I, g, and have them blend it. Pig, pig. Same on the whiteboard. P, I, g, pig, pig. They can provide that visual. And I want to point out, if you haven't noticed, you may not have noticed this, but I want to point out that I'm using words that have 2 letters or 3 letters. 3-letter words usually follow the consonant vowel consonant pattern, or the CVC pattern. That's what we're looking for. Those words generally will have a short vowel sound. So those are probably the ones that I would suggest to work with. They're the best for these activities. Okay, I'm going to show you this one for adding a sound, or it could be multiple sounds to change words, but usually I start with just adding 1 sound. Adding sounds to words is another great phonemic awareness skill that your reader will need to know. And you can, again, model that with your arm. So you can show small words like 8 and add another sound in front. So you can say, I have the word 8, now add ooh to the front. Ooh, 8. 8. You can do the same thing with visuals like this. I have 8, put ooh in front. What do I have? Ooh, 8. And I forgot to mention, you can also do this on the end of words. So you could put the sound E on the end of pup, and you would have pup-E, puppy. Okay, here's removing a sound or sounds to change words. For removing or deleting a sound, again, you can use your arm. So this is usually done with a longer word like slip, slip, and I can ask them to take off the sound. So this is important to have the kids do it with you. Slip, slip. Take off slip. You have a lip left over. You can do the same thing with a whiteboard. This time I've added an extra line so they can see all the sounds in the word. Slip, slip. Now take off what's left. Lip, lip. So this was similar to the last one, and again, you can also do it on the end of a word. So if you have the word later, you take the off, you just have late. And again, if your kids are able to write the word or build it with letter tiles or magnets, that's something you can play around with as well. Kids who are developing phonics may visualize letters in place on those lines as well. And that's great too. It all helps them with their phonemic awareness. Okay, this next video is for substituting sounds to change words. Substituting sounds is another amazing skill. So if I know cake, I can take off the k and change it to a b and make bake. I can take the b off and make fake. I can do the same with the whiteboard if I need to model that. So if I have ache and I want to change the k to a b, now I've got b, ache, bake. I could take bake and take off the b and put a there and make make. So both are great visuals and active ways to learn this. And teaching this skill has made teaching rhyming easier for me, and I also find that it's useful for kids when they're writing as well. Okay, identifying whether words rhyme can be tricky to teach. I have found that it's just easiest to explain to children that if the middle and ending sounds are the same in words, they will rhyme. So if you can break apart sounds in a word, if they can do that on their arm or however they need to, and if they can figure out if the middle and ending sounds are the same, they can learn to do this. So this takes a lot of practice, a lot of work. That's why I've put it lower down on the list. Some kids do pick it up naturally, but I have found that's not the average thing. I think the average thing is for kids to struggle a bit. So don't be worried if your child struggles with this as well. It also is great to use picture cards for these things because it's just hard to sometimes remember which words you're working with. So there's a lot of worksheets out there. A lot of places online you can find pictures of words that rhyme or don't rhyme. So that's kind of how you teach that. And then I've got a little video here when you're working with more than 2 words. Sometimes children are asked to identify, maybe pick the 2 words that rhyme or pick the 1 word that doesn't rhyme, and it kind of gets a little tricky. So I've got a little video here. Once children know what it means to rhyme, when they can identify if 2 words rhyme and you want to develop that a little further, you can give them 3 words in a group and try to identify the 2 that do rhyme. That's a little difficult, but I found that this visual representation works well. So I might ask the student, the child, which 2 words rhyme in this set of words. So I might give them cat, bat, dog. I've got 3 words. Each of them has a colored line. Cat, bat, dog. Which 2 rhyme? So they maybe have already forgotten which word was the first word, but they may recall that the blue and the pink rhymed. So the first 2 words rhyme. It doesn't matter if they recall that the words were cat and bat, they know that those 2 rhymed. This is great because sometimes you get harder ones where you've got the first and the last word are the rhyming words that you've given them. So they may forget that. They're like, the one that rhymed with that, the last one, the one that rhymed with dog. So I might do frog, duck, dog. Okay. Ooh, that was tough because I have duck and dog. They might say those because of the first sounds. But if they know that rhyming words have the same middle and ending sounds, they'll know that frog and dog rhyme. Okay, and again, as I said, you can also use picture cards. So if your kids are struggling with too many words, don't feel bad about resorting to using some picture cards. Okay, identifying additional words that rhyme with a given word or a group of words, that also can be tricky, but it's useful. If kids know what makes words rhyme, that same middle and ending sound little trick, then they can just substitute sounds for the beginning sound and do that fairly easy. Breaking words into syllables is something that's usually a later skill and more useful later, but I'm going to show you this anyway. For breaking words into syllables, we often teach children to clap the beats or the rhymes in words. Usually we use names first, but I also like to choose a category and make a list of words. So it could be fruits, and this is fun because kids can generate that as well. So you might have apple, and you can clap apple. You can clap banana, banana. Let's try grape, grape. One clap, one syllable. Watermelon, watermelon. 4 syllables. Okay, so again, one that's usually done a little later. And this next one is also one that's done a little later. This is breaking words into onsets and rhymes. And so what that means is the onset of a word is the first letter or maybe a couple letters, and the rhyme is starting at the vowel and the rest from the vowel and then the rest of the word on. So let me give you an example. The word branch, like tree branch. The onset would be the BR, bruh. And the rhyme would be anch, the ANCH. And so this is useful for kids as they progress with reading and writing. So we're almost at the end. We're going to wrap up here. I want you to know that I found that teaching basic phonics and phonemic awareness is not a problem. They can go hand in hand. I think it's very helpful for kids who have trouble hearing and differentiating sounds. I think it's helpful for them to do both. So I would ask you to encourage basic phonics. Teach your child the names of the letters and that the letters have sounds that they represent. Help them learn to recognize them. And work on phonemic awareness. Help your child listen to sounds and words and play with them. You can use movements, visual representations, or even letters if they're ready to represent sounds. So I just want to thank you for watching this video. Please like and share. Also, please check out my channel, Parent Teacher, and subscribe if you want to know when my next video launches.